What's going on, everybody? Zach Walker, your Texas local lender. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most frequently asked questions that we get. What happens if my house doesn't appraise? Stay tuned to find out. So today we're talking about what happens if your house doesn't appraise for the value of the contract, right? So let's say you have a house on the market, it costs $250,000. So you go in, there's 5 bids, right? There's 5 bids on this house, and you have to make an offer at $275,000. This is something we're seeing a lot right now in our current North Texas market. So now you've made an offer at $275,000 on a house that was listed at $250,000. So what's going to happen throughout that process is after the contract's executed, you're going to have the inspection, you're going to have the appraisal, all the pieces of the puzzle that happen to take you from contract to close. And when the appraisal comes back in, the appraisal is going to have a number, okay? So let's dive into what that appraisal is. An appraiser is a person hired by the bank or the lender, so they work for the lender, to give the asset that you're using as collateral for the loan, the property, a value. So it's their opinion of value of the home you're trying to borrow money against, right? Because that's how a loan works. You're borrowing X amount of money against a property as collateral and then paying it back over a fixed period of time or variable period of time with an interest rate. That's how they make money. So the appraisers have the bank's best interest at heart, right? Because that's who they work for. They're trying to protect the bank against lending you $350,000 on a house that if you got hit by a bus tomorrow, heaven forbid, but if you got hit by a bus tomorrow and passed away, that house is now only worth $250,000. They just lost $100,000. And so that's what the appraiser is there for, is to protect the bank from over lending on your property. Let's take that $250,000 example. You made an offer at $275,000 and it comes in at $260,000. Okay, so now the appraisal is $15,000 short of your offer. There are a couple things that you can do. So in the current market, situation number one, a lot of people are having to place appraisal waivers on the property, meaning you as a client, as a buyer, you're having to waive your right to terminate the contract regardless of the appraisal price. And you're agreeing to pay the difference. So in that situation, you would now be on the hook for $15,000 out of pocket that you're gonna write a check for to purchase that house because the appraisal came in $15,000 short. And the other thing you can do, appraisals are based on comparables or market comps. So there's gonna be CMAs involved. The appraiser is gonna go look at the comparable value of homes in a vicinity of a certain distance from your subject property. And they're gonna say, okay, this house with this feature sold for this house sold for this. They're gonna make adjustments, boom, 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 here's your value. In this market, things are so crazy right now that houses are selling so quickly that oftentimes if you ask your real estate agent, say, hey, can you pull some comps? Because since the contract to now, there have probably been some other properties that have sold. And because values are going like this, if they pull something that is significantly higher, you can now submit that to the appraiser and say, hey, did you see these comps? And get them to reevaluate their opinion. The third option is as follows. You can actually pay out of pocket for a secondary appraisal. Now, I'm gonna tell you a story about a situation that really happened to me. We had a property come in, the appraisal was $40,000 short. This is not in a market where things are going over market. This is a couple years ago in Alabama. So I had another appraiser go out there. I thought the appraiser had lost his ever-loving mind. So I sent another appraiser out there. Guess what? $60,000 different than the first appraiser. This is a true story, absolute truth. So 2 appraisers, same property, same job title, same job description, $60,000 difference in value. So as scientific as they try to make appraisals, the reality is a lot of it is subjective. A lot of it is based on the appraiser and his opinion of the value. And so you oftentimes have to be very cautious. Now let's address the root cause though, and that's this having to go over asking price, right? When I was a real estate agent, anybody that wanted to offer over what I thought would be the appraised value, I made them sign a piece of paper. Now I would oftentimes literally write this on a napkin. It really didn't matter, but I made them sign a piece of paper that say, I acknowledge I am offering more than this house is worth because I want it more than I have since. Like that kind of a contract, right? And what was the point of that? Was it legally binding? Was it? No, it was none of that. I wanted the client to, something about signing documents, right? When you sign a document, it makes it very real. So I wanted these clients to become very real to them that, hey, I might be overpaying for this house. And as long as they were okay with that, I had absolutely no problem representing their desires, their needs, their goals, because that was my job as a real estate agent. But it oftentimes made them stop and they would say, oof, I don't know, do I really want to pay that much for this house? And sometimes you have to. Again, in certain market conditions, you've got no choice but to go over the appraised value. It's something that we contended with 6 months ago when we bought our house here in Texas. I was unwilling to go over $15,000 above appraisal because I view a house as an investment more so than I do a home, right? Like it's my wife's home, it's my investment. Don't get me wrong, I love my house and it is certainly my home, but I have to view real estate the same, whether I'm living in it or whether I'm helping someone buy it to flip or whatever the case may be. And so the appraisal situation is something that's very touchy right now. It's a very hot topic and it's something that we all have to contend with. And so again, if your appraisal comes in low, there's a couple of things you can do. One, you have to accept it, write the check. Two, you can go pull comps and see if there's anything else in the area that has sold since the contract. Three, you can ask for a second appraisal that you're gonna have to pay for out of pocket. Or four, you terminate and you move on and you go find a house that you can get under the right price point so that it appraises and carries its value. Because again, the downside of this is if you buy a house that's priced $50,000 over the appraisal point, that means that if the market turned tomorrow, you would be upside down in your house by $50,000. So if you sold the house tomorrow, you would lose your tail. You would have to write a check to walk away from it rather than receiving money. But again, in our market, I bought my house 6 months ago and there's already $100,000 worth of value in it or worth of equity in it. And this is why having real estate professionals, lending professionals around you is so important. People to walk you through the process, highlight the ups, the downs, the goods, the bads, and really just make sure that you are aware of what everything is worth and what the value is for you. So again, I am Zach Walker, your Texas local lender, and make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and come back every week for brand new content on all things real estate and lending. You have a great day.